Well, welcome to Early Connections Conference, and thank you for joining our presentation today. We are here to present extracurricular and skill-building opportunities through outreach, talking about how it's never too early to get started with the expanded core curriculum. So I'm Courtney Wescott. I'm the supervisor of our outreach program at Perkins, part of community programs. I began working at Perkins in 2012 as a teaching assistant in the secondary program. I performed a few different roles before morphing over into community programs, and I have been there ever since, very excitedly and enthusiastically.
And my name is Delia. I'm the coordinator of outreach, and I've had the pleasure to work alongside Courtney for over a year now. Where are you? Now, and creating engaging programs with a variety of activities, opportunities for new and returning participants. This is a program that is everything that I loved working with direct care over the last 10 years, and it's great fun. So we are the facilitators of outreach work courses. We're here at Perkins. Outreach offers a diverse range of monthly residential programs throughout the school year in the form of extracurricular opportunities in a variety of academic, social, and recreational activities. The short courses we offer are primarily a residential experience, though we also offer virtual programs via Zoom and day pop-up events across Massachusetts as well. While our programs provide residential extracurricular skill-building opportunities to students with visual impairments ages 7 to 22, how does this pertain to your children and your students? We are here to talk about not only the concepts and education we provide to our participants in outreach, but more so how you can begin building concepts and skills with your children today and for years to come.
All right, so our goal for you today is to provide an introduction and an overview to the expanded core curriculum, which many of us are aware of as it's a part of our daily education and instruction. But we want to talk more so about how families can incorporate the expanded core curriculum into their day-to-day, how they can start now and how that can morph and change into their future. We'll discuss this. We'll have a small interactive activity, and we'll close with a few testimonials from parents and students.
Oh, I pushed the wrong button.
Oh, gosh.
Oh.
Technical difficulties. COVID hasn't changed a whole lot in our days.
All right, so as parents, you are your child's first teacher. You are their best advocates, especially as a child grows and their support team morphs and changes between caretakers, the family, community personnel such as teachers, doctors, various specialists. The way that children learn in the home setting has a strong correlation to how a child's outlook on learning and skill acquisition and about the world we live in.
It's just a little statistic here. According to the CDC, approximately 6.8% of children younger than 18 years old in the U.S. have diagnosed eye and vision conditions. Nearly 3% of children younger than 18-year-olds are blind or visually impaired, which is defined as having trouble seeing without the use of glasses or contact lenses. Sighted children learn to make sense of their world by observing their daily occurrences. Your child will learn to make sense of the world by gathering information using the limited vision they may have, but they will also learn by interacting with the world around them, by physically exploring their opportunities and processes.
So your words and interactions will be needed to provide your children with a more concrete understanding of the world around them. If your child has limited vision, they'll need extra explanations, descriptions, and repeated experiences in order to learn what other children learn simply by watching others imitating them. While we understand that there is a range of visual impairments, whether cortical or ocular, and each diagnosis has its own range of usable vision, we want to share just a few visual impairments to show the spectrum within the spectrum of blindness and visual impairments.
So here we're just going to show a few photos which just give different perspectives of the range of visual impairments. And while these photos may show one perspective, as we said, the spectrum within each diagnosis can be very vast. So this first photo is a slightly blurred picture. You can kind of tell that there might be two people in the picture, and they look to be holding an object. The object looks spherical, so it could be balls. And the vision impairment here is cataracts, which causes cloudiness to their vision. Next up, we have retinitis pigmentosa, which is a group of related eye disorders that affect the optic nerve. This can start with night vision loss that will progressively develop, that can do, sorry, I was watching the tech guys. So it can begin with night loss, but then as it progresses, it can progress to peripheral loss, which is what this photo here shows. So the image is of a largely black screen, and then there is a keyhole view of what appears to be two smiling young boy faces. Now we have a photo of what is the perspective of myopia, which is also known as nearsightedness, in which images from farther away become blurry. So this image is the same image, but it just has a slight blur to the whole field of it. And lastly, glaucoma is a condition where the eye's optic nerve that provides information to the brain is damaged. This can be with or without increased intraocular pressure. If untreated, vision loss will become more progressive, and this image here shows what we call a halo. So above the student or above the children's heads, it appears to be a little bit lit and surrounded around their faces, and then the surrounding pieces of their faces are slightly darker and blurred.
So this final photo is a view from a perspective with no vision loss. These examples show a variety of visual impairments that specially trained educators in the vision field may encounter and work with every day. Upon a child's diagnosis, their specialized team should begin to formulate. Some may be familiar with an IFSP, which stands for Individualized Family Service Plan, which is a written legal document that lays out support and services for children with developmental delays. IFSPs are covered by special education law or the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. IFSPs are put in place to support children from birth to 3 years of age. Once they turn 3 years old, their program and associated team typically transition into an individualized education plan or an IEP. Services may include other specialties that work alongside vision specialties such as OT, PT, SLPs, and more. They all use a common tool to guide their individualized lesson plans and collaborate with each child's education team.
So this tool that is used, which is the premise of not only our program, but our presentation, it's called the Expanded Core Curriculum. On the screen, it is displayed as a wheel of puzzle pieces that are all connected to each other. And in the center of the wheel are the core academics. So core academics are the academics that all students receive in public education, but the expanded core curriculum are all of the components specific to individuals with visual impairments that are going to allow them to further access their core curriculum. So the components of the expanded core are compensatory access, sensory efficiency, assistive technology, orientation and mobility, social interactions, independent living, recreation and leisure, and career education. So we're going to go into greater detail about all of these specific core, expanded core curriculum components, and then align them with how you can start in the home with your child.
So concept development. What is it? It is the understanding of knowledge or formulated thought that provides a background for future learning. Concept development is important so children can internalize the generalization as opposed to learning individual instances. A sighted child learns as much as 90% of everything they learn through their visual pathways. As much as 85% of what a child will learn in their lifetime is learned within the first 5 years. The takeaway for concept development are repetition with daily routines, communication through the senses, and applying functional meaning to those sensory inputs. For example, what is a cup versus a bowl versus a ball? So repetition is the repeating sensory experiences that help build concept development. As children retain memories and apply to new experiences, the repetition of the process builds concepts outward and upwards. Communication through labeling an item, describing features with usable vision, texture through touch, scent through smell, tasting the food or toy, a banana or a ball. One will taste better than the other. Basics of concept development is to identify and categorize something. So something that's you're here, tangible, a feeling or a moment, an observation. And function. Looking, hearing, and feeling things does not necessarily mean understanding what it is. For example, a novel item. Is this fluffy, soft thing in my pillow or a stuffed animal? While a child accesses sensory information, it is important to view it from a functional standpoint. What is the purpose of this or these sensory inputs? Each time they understand the properties of an object or comprehend an activity, they have learned a concept. So involve your child even when they are very young in things you do around the house.
You have to move your hair and stand up straight. All right, so now we have a chart on the screen with some associated photos. This is where we're going to start to break down all of the categories of the expanded core and just talk about different activities that you can start doing in the home and making part of your day-to-day routines. The first three categories are sensory efficiency, orientation and mobility, and social interaction. So sensory efficiency includes instruction and use of the vision, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. It also addresses the development of proprioceptive, kinesthetic, and vestibular systems. Learning to use their senses efficiently include the use of optical devices will enable students with visual impairments to access and participate in activities in the school, home, and community. So we broke it down into 3 age groups, just considering, it can be a little scary to think as my baby is an infant or a toddler, like how are we going to incorporate these components? So we broke it down into pieces. So for an infant, it's going to start with just labeling the sounds around them, talking about the noises that are going on, and just really applying labels to it while they're experiencing it and immersed. As they get older, it'll begin to be more touch and exploration that will be guided and discussed, and then moving forward to touch, sound, and labeling. So it's really just expanding upon the awareness of and applying the specific components throughout. Orientation and mobility enables students of all ages and motor abilities to be oriented to their surroundings and move as independently as possible and safely. Students learn about themselves and their environments, including the home, school, and community. Concepts begin with walking, basic body parts, labeling, lefts and rights, and up and down, and in and out. And as the student gets older, O&M lessons will start to incorporate some community mobility and learning routes and understanding the use of the cane and the techniques that are involved in that. And so up here we had movement is going to be the start. Your baby is going to move their fingers and bend their arms and bend their legs, and that'll be the first level of education. Moving forward, they'll start crawling and being explorative with their environment, but also with their bodies. And then, as we said, associated body and movement and correlating those things together, and then in the future expanding to more independent travel. And then finally, social interaction skills is exposure to others, engagement and nonverbal communication, learning about smiling and handshakes and saying hi and saying please and thank you. These are going to require some explicit instruction and reminders and feedback as the child goes throughout their day-to-day activities. So social interactions at first are largely going to be with the family members, those direct core support systems of that baby or child. It'll then morph and grow to daycare and teachers and personal care assistants and anybody else, the extended family and friends. And then throughout, once they get to school, and just expanding upon those, the community, but also building those social interaction skills across those environments. And the photos here, we do have just 3 generic photos. Thank you, Google, not from our families, I'm sorry. But we have the first photo on the left is of a father holding a baby. The baby is touching the father's face. So again, this can be an initial exploration of the human body. The second photo is of 3 small babies playing on a playmat, playing with Legos, And the third photo is of a community experience as a toddler while riding in a stroller. And it appears to be a family of 3.
All right, so on our next slide, we have rec and leisure skills. Instruction in recreation and leisure skills will ensure that students with visual impairments will have opportunities to explore, experience, and choose physical and leisure item activities, both organized and individual, that they enjoy. This instruction should focus on development of lifelong skills. This can begin with explicit play, play groups, age-based learning, and exposure to others and activities. One way is to look for places to take your child that have things for your child to touch, such as petting zoos, science museums, and botanical gardens. They are often child-friendly and open to touching, and these experiences incorporate sensory efficiency, O&M, and social interaction skills within the recreation and leisure experience. You heard Brenda's keynote speech. She mentioned many of these opportunities and community experiences. Next, we have assistive technology. This is an umbrella term that includes assistive and adaptive tools, as well as instructional services that can enhance communication, access, and learning. It can include electronic equipment such as switches, mobile devices, and portable note takers. Computer access such as magnification software, screen readers, and keyboarding, and low-tech devices such as an abacus, a brailler, active learning materials, and optical devices. It could be initially exposed by having the child listening to a computer screen reader or watching a screen magnifier use, and exposure to a phone or computer. Next, we have compensatory access. This is learning how to acquire, access, and process information, including the general education curriculum, without sight or with severely limited vision. Access to compensatory skills fills the gaps in concept learning. Access includes communication, modes, organization and study skills, access to printed materials, and the use of Braille or NAF, tactile graphics, objects and/or tactile symbols, sign language, and audio materials. Each individual's compensatory access skills will vary upon their specific visual impairment and needs. And here on the slide we have 3 pictures. On the left is a group of infants on the floor, exploring some toy items in the middle, in between them, and then in the middle we've got an infant in a seated, supported chair looking above their head at the caretaker, and on the right we've got an individual, a child in a wheelchair with headphones, sitting outside, looking at a screen device.
And finally, the last 3 components. So the final 3 areas of the expanded core are self-determination, independent living, and career education. So some of these are going to be more prevalent in your day-to-day and some of them less prevalent. It's going to take some time. So we encourage you, give your baby hands-on experiences. The more your child touches, the more they're going to learn. If your child loves to eat bananas, let them help you pick them out at the store. Let them help you put them away when you get home, and let them find them when it's time to find and eat their banana. When it's time to make a bottle for your baby, include them in the process. Have them be a part of feeling the cold bottle versus the warm bottle, and just talking through the different steps and components to making a bottle. So self-determination includes choice-making, decision-making, problem-solving, personal advocacy, assertiveness, and goal-setting. Students with visual impairments often have fewer opportunities to develop and practice these specific skills that lead to self-determination. Students who know who they are and who value their self-determination skills are going to become effective advocates for themselves and therefore have more control over their own futures. This can begin with a choice in their clothing. Do you want to wear this or this today? It can be a choice of the order of routines. Do you want to brush your teeth first or do you want to get dressed first? And just these little choices starting somewhere are going to make a big impact in the future. The next category is independent living. So independent living skills include the tasks and functions people perform in daily life to increase their independence and contribute to the family structure. These skills can include personal hygiene, mealtime skills, dressing skills, household chores, and different responsibilities within their day-to-day lives. And people with vision typically learn their daily routines through observation, as we had mentioned before, but these students are going to need some more systematic processes. Things might need to be laid out step by step by step from A to Z. We call it task analysis in the education world, but at home it's, finding the toothbrush, finding the toothpaste, putting the toothpaste on. It's breaking out these day-to-day activities so that the child can gain awareness and develop their concepts of how do I get my toothbrush with the toothpaste on it before it just goes into my mouth. And then finally, we have career education. Career education will provide students with visual impairments of all ages the opportunity to learn through hands-on experiences about jobs they may not otherwise be aware of without the ability to observe people. So again, when you go to the grocery store, your child may not be aware that there are numerous career opportunities within that one activity that you do every single day. There's, the store clerks, there's people who are stocking, there's people who are behind the scenes, there's the individual at the butcher counter. There's just a plethora of people who you engage and interact with that we take for granted sometimes and just casually pass by, but your child or students might need a little bit more extra instruction so that they know the plethora of options available to them. And so our chart here, we finally were able to use some of our community programs and past early connections families. So we have a photo of a prior itinerant TVI working with a student. They have a foam board in front of them with some large print and high contrast letters. We have a small toddler who is making his bed, because it's never too early to make your bed. And then we have a family who I believe were enjoying activities at what was our horticulture center, so doing some sensory exploration there. But yeah, these activities and moments, they're novel. They're happening every day, and our hope and our focus for you is just to be a little more explicit. Use these opportunities as learning moments, as descriptors, as elements that are going to only benefit your child in the future.
So this next slide is titled Creating an I Can Mentality Through Incidental Teaching for Incidental Learning. I got you. So incidental teaching is just as it seems. What is it? It is in the moment, an incident. As Courtney has mentioned in the previous slide, these are moments that are natural daily occurrences that we can, whether we realize it or not, make into learning moments. When we realize these moments, we can create and manipulate the environment and materials to customize the learning through the way we interact with our children. Engaging exploration with all their senses, usable language, and nonverbal communication. Such as mealtime utensils. When you're having a meal, what is a sippy cup? How are they going to explore that? On your tables, there are lots of materials there. How are they going to perceive that and the way they see it? How are they going to know that that's a cup? And make it meaningful. Yes, it's a cup, so what are they going to do with it? They don't know that you're going to drink from it. How are you going to drink from it? With a spout, with a straw, engage them with the materials and have them feel what a straw is. They might not know, they don't know what they don't know until we show them how and what it is. So repetition is key to concept development in everyday routines. When we realize a teaching moment, we have an opportunity to set up for incidental learning by setting up an environment or not having an item for a routine or activity. Should we wait for the child to try something on their own, wait for them to ask or indicate a need for help? A lot can happen if we allow the time and space for exploration. Parenting and teaching is a balancing act. Every day is a new day. It's never too early or too late to engage and involve your child with incidental teaching and learning moments. These are moments that do not need to happen every second of every day. We have to consider both you and your child's emotional capacity and ability at the moment. For example, are they going to want to learn what a cup is before or after a nap, a mealtime, or an activity? When we are aware of these moments, we can make better judgments as to how much we should be stepping in or stepping back. We want to encourage our children and students to try to experience challenges, the familiar and unfamiliar, and especially have the opportunities to push through and feel accomplishments.
So we have just a little quote here from our Director of Community Programs. Though our children live in a world made for sighted humans, we instill in our students a sense of confidence that they can be and do anything. So we really feel like this is, an essence of our program, of what we want to offer to all of the students who we serve in a variety of capacities. It's really about empowerment, and empowerment is going to start at home. So when you empower your child to choose and to be a part and to do, it's just going to make a world of difference for them. We say all parents and caretakers go through difficult periods, and no parent or caretaker can meet all of their children's needs, especially when raising children with complex needs. Having the information, skills, and support will help balance the ebb and flows of this perfectly imperfect journey. Our community is what we make it, but considering the support that we allow, the instruction that we're going to provide, and the comfort that we can find in other people's journeys as well is going to make all of the difference. So we have provided an overview of many of the skills and concepts that we embed into outreach, but we want to also hear from you as to how you can identify the skills and areas from what we do in outreach to the expanded core curriculum. So we are going to show you some photos. We will describe the photos. On your tables, you have a set of their colorful strips with writing on them. Each of the colorful strips is an identifier for the different areas of the expanded core curriculum. So once we go through, we're going to describe a photo, and then at your table, you can collectively decide as a table which areas do we think are going to apply to these photos. Sorry, I went into that.
And if you don't have these on your table, we can team up with the table next to you. All right, so let's see how you do with identifying the areas of the UCC. So on the left, we have three photos on the screen. On the left, we've got two girls sitting on a table with gloves on, exploring a material that we're familiar with, slime. And all these pictures are actually from our PUPO event, which we hosted families from our infant toddler program, as well as some of new and familiar outreach families in a day of activities at the Tower Hill Botanical Garden. So in the middle, in the second photo, we have a small group of people sitting alongside a small pond filled with lily pads and other plants. And then on the right side, we have an image of a mother and her son, the son on the mother's lap, and the mother's wearing gloves and touching a sticky slime substance as her son looks on. So take a moment and look through.
We'll start over here. Be a Vanna White. Picture one, what do we think?
You can hold up the colors.
Which categories? What categories might apply? Categories. I see a lot of orange, which I believe is sensory efficiency. Very good. Anything else? Solely sensory efficiency? Yeah? All right, that's a collective. Concept development, yes, for sure. Definitely. All right, we had a pretty good consensus there with sensory efficiency. Obviously, yes, they are sticking their hands into a foreign substance, they're wearing gloves, they're, exploring all of their senses here. So definitely. Photo 2, what do we think? Blue, rec and leisure, social interaction. Very good, social interaction. Definitely. It's a group of individuals. They are talking with each other. They are standing alongside each other. They are participating in an activity together. So yes, social interaction, rec and leisure, for sure. Yep. Yes, so Terry had mentioned that it could be career exploration. And this particular day, we were fortunate enough to receive a guided tour from the Tower Hill Botanical Garden staff, so it was definitely a career exploration opportunity. And then finally, it's another view of a mom and a son exploring the slime. We made our own slime that day, so It was a lot of hand over hand, hand under hand, and mixing together. All right, I see independent living, sensory efficiency, social interaction. Social interaction, all right, yes, yes, and yes. Independent living, yes, exactly. All right, and next up, we have some photos. All the perimeter photos, so the 4 corners, are photos from a prior Explore Boston program, which is our elementary aged program. Yes, you have a question? You missed? Oh, no. Oh, well, some of our sets are wrong, then you don't have the option. So our Explore Boston program is an elementary-based program. We serve students who are 6.5-ish, 7 to 12 or 13. And it's really it's like a quintessential summer program. It's one of the opportunities that we can explore the city, get them into the community, work on O&M, work on figuring out how to find an accessible museum, kind of what Brenda had mentioned earlier today. It's about exposure, it's about access. So we ask everybody and anybody if we can come. And sometimes we pull a Brenda as well, and we just say, we're coming as a school group. We don't need any, I'm not going to give you any further descriptors. We're coming as a school group and we're going to make it work. So these 4 photos, top left corner, we have a group of students crossing a busy Boston street as we were going to the Boston Children's Museum. The bottom left photo is at the Discovery Center in Acton, where students are participating in an interactive trebuchet activity. The top right is a group photo after we explored the Boston Duck Tours, which, strangely enough, born and raised in Boston, that was my first time ever going on the Boston Duck Tours. And then the bottom right, we got to experience a tour of the new Warrior Arena in, was that Brighton? The new Bruins practice space. So we were able to ice skate. We were able to get on a boat that went as a car. We crossed busy streets and we engaged in activities. And our center photo is of a student. He was a first-time participant. He attended our Camp Abilities program, and so this is him participating in archery. So no activity is too big or too small. What do we think about our top left photo? Which elements of our expanded core may or may not be present here? I see the O&Ms quickly get their O&M up. Yes, blue, 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 very good. We've got some independent living, some social interaction, orientation and mobility. Yes, 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 and yes, for sure. We don't have to do them all. What about this bottom right? We have students that are on ice skates, on ice. They are using the adaptive tool of the walkers. We've got sensory efficiency, rec and leisure, social interaction, independent living. Yes, 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 and yes. Orientation and mobility on ice is a whole different ballpark, I'll say that. You didn't get that one? All right, we trust you. We know you have great instincts. But really, we wanted to show you some of the great experiences we have in outreach, but really the point of this is that almost every single category of the expanded core is embedded within all of these activities. Everything is going to correlate and coincide and kind of morph and blend into one another. So that was our purpose for this activity. Oh, 3 more photos, I lied. We don't have to do the activity. But to the left, Explore Boston, we had a student using one of our on-campus playgrounds. I think that he asked to use the sprinklers every single day and night that he was here. He was a first-time outreach participant who took part in our Explore Boston program. The center photo is of 2 young ladies who are on a side-by-side tandem bike, which we have access to at the Perkins track. They are many, many, many miles are rode on that track. And then our final photo is to the right from our 3-week skills academy. We have 2 students who were working very diligently on a student-led cooking activity where they were preparing a meal of their choice for all of our staff members. So it was on them. They chose tacos. They invited our director and some of our other staff members to come and join them for their successfully made taco lunch dinner. All right, so what do our families have to say? We reached out to our community as a whole. We asked if any families or students themselves had any feedback or reflections that they wished to share, and gave us the permission to share them as well. So our first student, GS, he's 12 years old. He attended the Explore Boston program, and this is the reflection that he wrote after the fact. So he said, "I recently went to the Explore Boston event with the Perkins Outreach Program. I found it a great opportunity to hang out with old friends while also making new ones. The places we went to were very enjoyable and helped with exercise because we walked a lot." That was emphasized for sure. Some of the most fun things we did were going to the Boston Bruins practice rink, many museums, and exploring the Perkins grounds. In conclusion, I found the experience to be fun and entertaining, and I hope to attend future Perkins outreach programs just like this one.
Next we have NC's experience, who started as a 10-year-old who just lost his vision. And he participated through high school, through his graduation, and afterwards worked with us for a short time before college. And he continues to volunteer with us in a variety of capacities, including being a mentor for students. He said, "I am currently a junior at Boston College, majoring in history and philosophy. I began going to outreach programs when I was 10 years old, 6 months after I lost my eyesight. I thought my life was pretty much over at that point, but outreach gave me the opportunity to meet lifelong friends who also have visual impairments, learn how to become independent, and explore all sorts of fun activities I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. My favorite programs that I like to tell people about are Space Camp, Capabilities, 3-week, 5-week, and Self-Defense Weekend. Nick is now 22 years old."
We have another experience. This was a first-time participant who decided to delve in headfirst, and she participated in our 3-week Skills Academy last summer. She was a very articulate young woman, and she graciously shared her perspective of the program. So this was a little essay that she wrote on her own, but she wrote that, "During this program, I have learned and touched upon different skills, as well as making new friends and meeting new people. While interacting with my peers and navigating through awkward situations, or by simply helping a friend in a tough situation. At first it felt weird to be here, as I've never been to an overnight program, but I quickly learned that it can be fun and engaging. I learned how to label and mark a stove, washer, and dryer. It hadn't occurred to me that you could label the knobs of a stovetop until I came to this program. Learning how to cut a watermelon, cook bacon, breakfast sausage, eggs, and many other dishes. I enjoyed helping cook or prep lunch and dinner, as well as new methods of organizing. Some activities I enjoyed here at Outreach were horseback riding, playing group games like Uno or Liar, running on the track, or riding a bike. I also enjoyed hanging out and meeting everybody, inspiring me to do better or to try harder when I'm unmotivated." And so that was GB. She was 17 years old, and again, a first-time outreach participant. The end of this says that she was excited to share a poem that she wrote. We were unable to find the poem, but it is worth mentioning that it was probably one of the most beautiful, heart-wrenching poems that anybody has ever written about maybe anything. So if and when we find it, we'll share it with you, with our greater community.
Great, and lastly we have 2 perspectives from parents of children who attended our outreach programs. On the left we have a parent of AR, age 12. They said, "We would definitely recommend the outreach programs to all families and students with visual impairments. Adrian has been attending them since he was 7 years old. These programs are full of activities and experiences in a safe environment. It encourages children to be more independent and make new friends with similar visual disabilities." And on the right, we have a parent of TK, age 19. They said, "Our experience with outreach has been wonderful. For example, my son attended a self-defense workshop where he was empowered to protect himself from an attacker for the first time. Outreach didn't treat my child with a disability as weak. They gave him strategies and hands-on practice to protect himself so he can be independent and safe in the world. They always run these programs with love and respect for the kids and families."
And so that is our presentation. We didn't necessarily discuss a couple of the other items that we placed onto your table. Our tools that we call bump dots, and that was something that GB had mentioned in her reflection. So bump dots are a adhesive sticker that come in different shapes, sizes, colors, textures, and all of the above. And so this is something, as she mentioned, that we adapt our building with. So when students come, and if you come over to our vendor table, we have some examples with our measuring cups are tactily labeled, whether with Braille or with these bump dots. And then the other item on your table, we call them wiki sticks. You may or may not be familiar with them. And wiki sticks can be used to outline items, to just another tactile version to help build concepts or to be able to identify things for you in your home or at school or in any environment that your child may be in. So with that, do you have any questions for us? Yes.
So I'm new to all this. So I'm just curious, like, if you have like day programs that students and children and parents can come to together. Like my son will be 7.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see it going forward. Like I'm not sure that I'm ready to step into like each grade overnight yet.
Yes, so we briefly touched upon that at the start, but we do offer weekend programs, week-long, and then the extended summers. In addition to, we have, which sounds like would be perfect for you and your family, we do family pop-up events. So that was like the Tower Hill Garden. We'll just coordinate an activity throughout all different pockets of Massachusetts, sometimes in other states. And it's just an opportunity for, again, you to come meet other families, to meet with us, talk about the programs, while experiencing, you know, a different activity for you and your family.
And those are on the Perkins website? Or how do you
Yep, so we have our short courses within the Perkins website, and everything is linked within the QR codes. There's a brochure for our programs, as well as the link directly to our website, so you can definitely access it. Feel free to send us an email and just to put it at the top of our list, because then we can reach out to you. We'll make sure that you're on our mailing list, so when we're sending out these updated events that you'll receive them. Okay? And yes, 7 it feels young, right? It feels far away for some. I will say we have met students of all ages. Sometimes it's a student who's 18 years old who has never stayed away from home before, and it's a first-time experience. So we know that it is a big thing for you as the parents and for your child as just as much. So we definitely do everything that we can to just make sure you feel all informed, you know what to be expected and things like that. Yep. Again, our aim is to provide an opportunity for a cohesive cohort. So every program is going to look a little bit differently with the population of students and abilities and visual impairments and whatnot. So again, we go through the process. We want to make sure we kind of have an idea of who your child is so that we can best support them while they're here with us. Any other questions? Again, feel free to find us at the vendor table. You can find us online. We appreciate you choosing our session for your day here. And I know we're ending a few minutes early, but maybe you'll have first dibs on lunch. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.